Shalom. Shalom and welcome. Welcome to the White Rose Family Channel. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Simoniah, and these are the words I'm compelled to present before an awakening set-apart nation. In this series that focuses on the final Exodus, which I believe the countdown to be 2023, the month known by the Gregorian calendar as December, the day the 21st. December 21st, 2023, I think will mark a phenomenal time and bring clarity regarding the final Exodus. Not just clarity, but much movement would have occurred and would have begun. In this segment, my brothers and sisters, I want to talk about Yaakov and Esau, commonly known as Jacob and Esau. But before I get started, I want to say that the views expressed in these messages do not necessarily reflect the views of the owners, managers, shareholders, and or sponsors of this media platform in which you are listening or viewing. With that said, my brothers and sisters, I also want to say in these final days, as much as we want to see unity among a set-apart nation, as much as we want to witness the promises of the Almighty Father be fulfilled, it is important for us to recognize what it takes to bring that fulfillment, what it takes to bring the realities of what has been promised to us clearly to the surface. And I want you to know, O Yasharal, the day is at hand when we must begin to ask, what does it look like? What does the discipline of Yahuwah resemble? What are the characteristics of his discipline, his vengeance, and his wrath? With discipline, I believe, being at the forefront before we witness the vengeance and wrath, my brothers and sisters. In this segment, I want to talk about Yaakov and Esau, Jacob and Esau. They are brothers by race and nationality. Believe it or not, Jacob and Esau were natural-born twins. And I will present the case that speaks of the natural-born brother and sister, and that speaks of who is our spiritual-born brothers and sisters. I will present that case. I want to say this, my brothers and sisters. If you believe these words to be true, consider subscribing and sharing and hitting the like button to let others know. Do you believe that if something is given to you, entrusted to you, that you have an obligation to know why? That you have a responsibility to do something about it? Pray first and foremost and seek to discern what actions, what accountability rests on your shoulders when you receive these messages. A final Exodus, the characteristics of such requires movement. Are you contributing to that final Exodus? Whether it be by word or deed or resources and actions. What are you contributing towards this final Exodus? I ask for your help, and I present before you the Cash App, White Rose Family. Will you support the sustainability and the actions that helps bring about this final Exodus in some way, shape, or form? Pray and ask yourselves, what is expected, my brothers and sisters? Let's get into the Yaakov and Esau. I want you to look at the life and the lives of men, women, and children. As I read this, I want you to consider these things, O Yasharal. In Deuteronomy 8:3, it says, and he humbled you and let you suffer hunger and fed you with manna which you did not know, nor did your fathers know, to make you know that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of Yahuwah. Setting the stage for the issue of Jacob and Esau, I want you to know that man, any man, woman, or child lives by the word of Yahuwah. And though we see these words being mentioned to Yasharal, know that there were those who followed Yasharal who were not Hebrew, but became and adopted the ways of Yasharal, the belief of being with Yasharal and being one with Yasharal, as the word promised during those days, and as the word promised when it talks about Yahusha and Yahusha grafting those in together as one, both Hebrews and Gentiles. Consider Matthew 12:49 and 50. It reads as so. And having stretched out his hand towards his taught one, he said, see my mother and my brothers. For whoever, he didn't say just Hebrews, whoever does the desire of my Father, who is in the heavens, is my brother, sister, and mother. My brothers and sisters, a lot of corrections will occur as Yasharal prepared for the final Exodus, as Yasharal began to demonstrate the coming together in unity, the 144,000 in great multitude, the mother and brother and sister, those who do the will of the Father. We are brothers. We are a set-apart family by the Spirit and might in the word of the Almighty Father. It didn't say just Hebrews. When it talks about Yasharal, as it relates to deliverance in the final Exodus, it's talking about those gathered together and made one. Both Hebrews and Gentiles made one by Spirit. It's talking about the set-apart nation of Yasharal. And I'm going to get into this Jacob and Esau here in a minute. Let me continue. Revelation 7:4 said, I heard a number of those who were sealed, 144,000 sealed out of all the tribes of the children of Yasharal. We understand this, and many of us believe this to be all Hebrews, which is true. So in order for this to be fulfilled and us recognize this, we must be able to identify Hebrews, at the very least 12,000 of each of the 12 tribes mentioned in Revelation 7 chapter. And if you drop down to the 9th verse, it says, after this I looked and I saw a great crowd, which no one was able to count, out of all nations, not some, and not just Hebrews. It says, out of all nations and tribes and peoples and tongues, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, dressed in white robes and palm branches in their hands, and crying out with a loud voice, saying, deliverance belongs to our Almighty One who sits on the throne and to the Lamb. And all the messengers stood around the throne and elders and the 4 living creatures and fell on their face before the throne and worshiped the Almighty One, saying, Amen. The blessings and the esteem of the wisdom, the esteem and the wisdom and the thanksgiving and the respect and the power and the might to our Almighty One forever and ever. Amen. And one of the elders responded, saying to me, who are these dressed in white robes? Where did they come from? And I said, Master, you know. He said to me, these are those coming out of the great distress, having washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. You see, from all nations, kindreds, and tongues, who have been drawn by the Almighty Father, as it states in John 6:44. My brothers and sisters, great corrections are coming. You see, when it comes to Yaakov, also known as Jacob and Esau, there are many camps who know that Esau's name was changed to Edom, but they want to say Edomites are the white man. My brothers and sisters, I will present the case how the scriptures talk about the nationality of Yasharal versus Gentiles. And Gentiles are all other nations. Gentiles, the ways of the Gentiles, another way of saying the ways of the heathen. Also, it's also another way of saying it's the way of Esau. So what I'm saying here, I would present the case where we will see, O Yasharal, how when it talks about Yaakov and Esau, it talks about nationality, but then it talks about the spiritual condition in the ways of the set-apart nation. Let me continue, my brothers and sisters. Regarding Yaakov, it says, and come with me to Genesis 25, 19 through 26. Genesis 25, 19 through 26 reads, and this is the genealogy of Yishak, Abraham's son. Abraham brought forth Yitzhak. Yitzhak was 40 years old when he took Rivkah as his wife and the daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean of Padam Aram, the sister of Laban, the Aramean. And Yitzhak prayed to Yahuwah for his wife because she was barren, and Yahuwah answered his prayer, and Rivkah, his wife, conceived, and within her children struggled together, and she said, if all is right, why am I this way? So she went to ask Yahuwah, and Yahuwah said, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples shall be separated from your body, and 1 people shall be stronger than the other, and the older serve the younger. Here, the Almighty Father said there is 2 nations in her womb, that these are 2 people in her womb, and that one will serve, the older will serve the younger. Now keep in mind, it's saying Yahuwah is saying this. And it say, when the days were filled for her to give birth, and see, twins were in her womb, and the first came out red all over like a hairy garment. So they called his name Esau. And after his brother came out with his hand holding on to Esau's heel, so his name was called Yaakov. And Yitzhak was 60 years old when she bore them. You see, my brothers and sisters, a great correction is coming. There are so many people that don't want to say that Esau and Yaakov, or Jacob and Esau, were brothers. As a people, they were brothers. But as a nation, spiritually, they were at odds with one another. And I will present the case more clearly as I continue. Let's go to chapter 32, verse 24 through 28. This is when Yaakov's name was changed. It's saying Yaakov was left alone, and the man wrestled him until the breaking of day. And when he saw that he did not overcome him, he touched the socket of his hip, and the socket of Yaakov's hip was dislocated as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go, for the day breaks. But he said, I am not letting you go until you have blessed me. So he asked him, what is your name? And he said, Yaakov. Some translation will say Jacob. And he said, your name is no longer called Yaakov, but Yasharal, because you have striven with the Almighty One and with men and has overcome. I present to you how the name Yasharal came to be. And this is talking about initially as a people, and then as a set apart spiritual nation. Let me continue. Esau becomes Edom. Consider these words. Now remember, they were brothers as a people, but as a spiritual nation, they were enemies. Genesis 25:30 said, Esau said to Yaakov, please feed me with the same red stew, for I am weary. That is why his name was called Edom. Go to Genesis 32:3, and Yaakov sent messengers before him to Esau, his brother, in the land of Seir, the field of Edom. Now come with me to Genesis 36:1. And this is the genealogy of Esau, who is Edom. Now you will notice that there's a difference in spelling. Esau, because I'm using the scripture version 2009 versus King James Version that spell Esau, E-S-A-U. Just want to bring that to your attention. But Esau became Edom. So Esau dwelt in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. Thus the word Edomites. My brothers and sisters, over time, geography and the conditions in geography can change the skin tone, change the physiology, the physical appearance. And we will find that many of Esau, not all, found their way into the caves. Many descendants of Japheth found themselves in the caves. Thus, we see the non-melanated. But among the melanated, there's some Edomites among the melanated. You see, my brothers and sisters, if you study the scriptures and understand what's really happening, you'll see that Esau or Edom or Edomites can be of melanated hue, but their ways are wicked. So do not confuse what has happened and think that all white men are Edomites. For there are some whites who are part of the nations that are grafted into the body. Now, they don't change into a Hebrew by physiology. They become one with Yasharal, one with Hebrews that are set apart by the spirit of Yahusha. We must understand the difference of Yasharal. Many corrections are coming in these final days. There is much to understand as we move towards these final moments. Yasharal or Yasharal, my brother, my sister, I want you to discern that there is the inward man. The inward man. Come with me to Luke 11:39. For it reads, and the master said to him, now you Pharisees make the outside of the cup and dish clean, but your inward part is filled with greed and wickedness. My brothers and sisters, throughout scriptures, we see comparisons of Hebrews and Gentiles, Hebrews and Gentiles. What we will realize is that the Almighty Father didn't want us getting hung up on all the many different nationalities the world have evolved to. French, Spanish, Latin, Indian, Arab, Chinese, Japanese, Filipino, Australian. We weren't instructed to focus on all these different nationalities. Ultimately, we will understand that it boils down to what and who are we from the inward part. If we have been set apart by the Almighty Father, drawn to Him through His plan, His word, Yahusha, by the blood of the Lamb, by His Spirit working within us, then we share the nationality, the ultimate nationality of Yasharal. And there will be those who must hold the banner of each of the 12 tribes as written to fulfill what Revelation 7th chapter speaks of. But once that is fulfilled, we will all be under one banner. That banner will be set apart Yasharal, with our inward parts cleaned by the Spirit, by the blood of the Lamb, that leads us to demonstrate physically that we are walking to worship and obey the Almighty Father. This will be occurring now and forevermore until we are translated. 2 Corinthians 4:16 says, therefore we do not lose heart, but even if our outward man is perishing, the inward man is being renewed day by day. Note that there is an inward. That inward man is our spirit, my brothers and sisters. Now come with me to 1 Peter 1:22-25. For it reads, now that you have cleansed your lives in obeying the truth through the Spirit, to unfeigned brotherly love, love one another fervently with a clean heart, having been born again, not of corruptible seed, but incorruptible, through the living word of the Almighty One, which remains forever. Because all flesh is as grass, and all esteem of man as the flower of the grass. The grass withers, and its flower falls away. But the word of Yahuwah remains forever. And this is the word announced as good news to you, that inward man, my brothers and sisters. I want you to understand and discern the truth in these words as well. In Galatians chapter 3, 24 through 29, it reads, Therefore the Torah became our trainer unto Messiah in order to be declared right by belief. The Torah is the instruction, and it's capitalized as the ultimate instruction is the instruction of Yahuwah. And it says, and after belief has come, we are no longer under a trainer. For you are all sons of the Almighty One through belief in Messiah Yahushua. In other words, that instruction, that trainer that came to us, that belief that came to us, initially was through those chosen by the Almighty Father to teach and preach and educate us. And the time came, O Yasharal, when the actions of the Messiah, Mashiach Yahushua, with the sacrifice and the resurrection, then the Spirit came to us, directly working in us and through us. Then there was no need to depend just on what was written or just a prophet or a shepherd. For the Spirit of the Almighty Father worketh in us through shepherds, pastors, and prophets still exist? Yes. So when it says, and after belief has come, we're no longer under the trainer, in other words, a transition change. And if you study the scriptures correctly, you'll understand what it means by praying without ceasing, discerning, him working in us and through us. It goes on to say in Galatians chapter 3, I'm going on to the 26 to 29, for you are sons of the Almighty One through belief in Messiah Yahushua. For as many as you as were immersed into Messiah have put on Messiah. There is not Yehudi nor Greek. There is not slave nor free. There is not male and female. For you all are one in Messiah Yahushua, and you are of Messiah. Then you are the seed of Abraham and heirs according to the promise. Yasharal, my brothers and sisters, there are individuals that would say it's no need of talking about whether you are Yehuda or Jew or Greek. And they use this verse. It's talking about as a spiritual set-apart nation, as a set-apart body. We're no longer Yehuda or Greek. But as a set-apart people, we will see they are set apart Yasharal as a people, and there are Gentiles as a people. But in spirit, we have become one only by the plan of the Almighty Father, only by the Spirit of Yahushua working in us. But make no mistake, in order for Revelation to say the 12 tribes and list them, we must recognize those of the Hebrew tribes. We must recognize the difference between Hebrew as a people and Gentiles as a people. In order to see the power and might of Yahuwah bring us together as one, we must identify one another, and we must identify the workings of the power of the Almighty Father in us. But those who are not set apart by the power and might of the Almighty Father through Yahushua Mashiach are not our brothers. Let me continue, O Yasharal. It is important to clearly understand Hebrews versus Gentiles. I want you to listen to me as I read Romans 1:16 and 17. It says, Romans 1:16 and 17 says, for I am not ashamed of the good news of Messiah, for it is the power of the Almighty One for deliverance to everyone who believes, to the Yehudi first and also the Greek, who believes and seek to worship, seek to do the will of the Almighty Father. Goes on to say, so, for in it the righteousness of the Almighty One is revealed from belief to belief, as it has been written. But the righteous shall live by belief, not by skin color, by belief. Come with me to Romans chapter 2, verse 5 through 11. And as I say, a great correction is coming, O Yasharal. You see, we who are Hebrews will receive Gentiles who are drawn by the Almighty Father as our spiritual brother and as part of the set-apart family. Those who are set apart Hebrews, those that are not, follow the ways of the Gentile, the ways of the heathen. Remember, Gentile mean all other nations, because he did not want us worrying about all these little nationalities, all these nationalities we see across the planet these days. But no, what's important is the set-apart nation of Yasharal, and all others are outside of that nation. All others represent Gentiles, the ways of the Gentiles, the ways of the rebellious. Romans chapter 2, verse 5 through 11 reads, but according to your hardness and your unrepentant heart, you are treasuring up for yourselves wrath in the day of wrath and revelation of the righteous judgment of the Almighty One, who shall render to each one according to his works. Everlasting life to those who by persistence in good work seek for esteem and respect and incorruptibility, but wrath and displeasure to those who are self-seeking and do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness. Affliction and distress on every human being working what is evil, of the Yehudi first and also of the Greek. But esteem, respect, and peace to everyone working what is good, to the Yehudi first, and also to the Greek. For there is no partiality with the Almighty One. As I said, my brothers and sisters, a great correction is coming. Those who are just saying the Edomites this, the Edomites that, Esau this, and not be specific. Edomites is just like saying Gentiles and heathens. But we will see that the two nations that was battling was a set-apart nation and a wicked nation. Come with me to Romans chapter 11. My brother, my sister, my family, hear these words in Romans 11, 17 to 27. For they read, for some of the branches were broken off, and you, being a wild olive tree, have been grafted in among them, and came to share the root and fatness of the olive tree. Do not boast against the branches, and if you boast, remember, you do not bear the root, but the root bears you. You should say then, the branches were broken off, that I might be grafted in. Good. By unbelief they were broken off, and you stand by belief. Do not be arrogant, but fear. For the Almighty One did not spare the natural branches. He might not spare you either. See then the kindness and sharpness of the Almighty One on those who fail sharpness, but towards you kindness. If you continue in his kindness, and otherwise you also shall be cut off. And they also, if they do not continue in unbelief, shall be grafted. If they do not continue in unbelief, shall be grafted in. For the Almighty One is able to graft them in again. It is by belief. It is by the power and might of the Almighty Father. And if you were cut out of the olive branch, which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these who are the natural branches be grafted into their own olive branch? Restoration of those who had been pruned, who were as prodigal sons returning. It says, for I do not wish you to be ignorant of this secret, brothers, lest you should be wise in your own estimation, that hardening in part has come over Yasharal, until the completeness of the nations have come in. And so all Yasharal shall be saved, as it has been written, Some people just think it said, oh, Yasharah said, it said, as it has been written, the deliverer shall come out of Sion, and he shall turn away wickedness from Yaakov, and this is my covenant with them when I take away their sins. Let us continue, my brothers and sisters. You see, the wise discover how to read scriptures and keep them whole. And what I mean by that, my brothers and sisters, we will read scriptures where it says Yahuwah hates Esau. Esau I hate. And he's talking about the ways of Esau. The people who follow those ways and the ways of Esau. That can include some Hebrews who do not follow the ways of Yahuwah. Wickedness is what he hates, my brothers and sisters. And the wise will grow to know that and accept the great correction. And those who run around just saying the Edomites without specifically saying the ways of the Edomites. The ways of the people that are wicked. This is what Yahuwah hates. But there are some people, by a stark contrast, are Gentiles or Edomites that can be restored. So understand the difference between the people and the spiritual renewedness of those who are made set apart by the power and might of Yahushua Mashiach. My brothers and sisters, I want you to embrace wisdom and discern the truth. Consider these words as I take you back to Romans, in this case, the 8th chapter, verse 12 through 17. For it reads, so then, brothers, we are not debtors to the flesh, to live according to the flesh. See, if we're busy arguing about the color of our skins and the race and the people's nationality versus looking at the ultimate end game, the ultimate goal, the ultimate finality of the children of Yahuwah, is the spiritual set-apart nation that will be set apart forever. So we must look beyond just the flesh. It goes on to say in 8:13, for if you live according to the flesh, you are going to die. But if by the Spirit you put to death the deeds of the body, you shall live. For as many as led by the Spirit of the Almighty One, these are the sons of the Almighty One. This is what I talk about, keeping the scriptures whole. As many as led. They didn't say just Hebrews, my brothers and sisters. But it is just the set-apart nation of Yasharal. The set-apart nation of Yasharal have those who are grafted into it. But as a race, as a people, it doesn't mean that they change into Hebrew by people by race. They become Yasharal by spirit. 8:15 say, for you did not receive the spirit of bondage again to fear, but you received the spirit of adoption by whom we cry out, Abba, Father. The Spirit himself bears witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Almighty One. And if children, also heirs, truly heirs of the Almighty One, and co-heirs with Messiah, if indeed we suffer with him, in order that we also be exalted together. Hear these words, O Yasharal, for in these end times corrections are coming. The wise will discern, confirm the life in the scriptures as they are brought before our very eyes, living with power. Come with me. It is important to know the strength of these words, O Yasharal. John 6:44 says, no one is able to come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I shall raise him up in the last day. It is the Father that draws us to Yahushua. Yahushua being his word. Yahushua is the embodiment of the virgin birth, the sacrifice, the resurrection, the words of Yahuwah, the word of Yahuwah. John 14:26 reads, but the helper, the set-apart spirit whom the Father shall send in my name, he shall teach you all and remind you of all that I've said to you. It is the Spirit of Yahushua that teaches us, working in us, through us, one towards another, those whom he chooses to speak through. And John 12:32 reads, and if I am lifted up from the earth, shall draw all men to myself. You see, it is by the word of Yahuwah. It is by his plan. And out of obedience, this is how we lift him up, by magnifying Yahushua, that Yahushua is the word of Yahuwah. How can we communicate? How can we understand the word? Except by Yahuwah's word, except by Yahushua. My brothers and sisters, let us read and discern the life in these words as well, for they are important. It is important to know, when discerning the truth in the scriptures, what that looks like. How to keep the scriptures whole so that they do not contradict, as some might say, oh, sure, there's contradictions in the scriptures. Some people will stumble on what they believe is a contradiction, and so therefore they'll just disregard that portion of scripture altogether. They do that a lot with Shaul, commonly known as Paul. But come with me to Malachi 1-3, O Yasharal. For it reads, the message of the word of Yahuwah to Yasharal by Malachi. I have loved you, said Yahuwah. But you ask, in what way have you loved us? Was not Esau Yaakov's brother? Declares Yahuwah. And I love Yaakov, but I've hated Esau and have laid waste his mountains and his inheritance for the jackals of the wilderness. Here he's saying Esau, the person, and the ways of that person. You see, there's a parallel message. Yaakov versus Edom, Hebrews versus Gentile. And when it talks about Hebrews versus Gentile, it's talking about the set-apart Hebrews. Those cast out into wickedness are no longer our brother or sisters. Zechariah 8:17 says, and do not plot evil in your heart against another, and do not love a false oath, for these I hate, declares Yahuwah. Natural nationality versus spiritual nationality. Hear these words, O Yasharal. However, Romans 9:6-8 reads, however, it is not as though the word of Yahuwah, the Almighty One, has failed. For they are not all Yasharal who are of Yasharal. Neither are they all children, because they are the seed of Abraham. But in Yitzhak your seed shall be called. That is, those who are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of the Almighty One. But the children of the promise are reckoned as the seed. But the children of the promise, my brothers and sisters. You see, not all Hebrews are of the Hebrew nation of Yasharal that is set apart. Luke chapter 8, verse 19-21. Come with me. I want you to know this. And his mother and brothers came to him and were unable to get to him because of the crowd. And it was reported to him, saying, your mother and your brothers are standing outside wishing to see you. And he answered and said to him, my mother, my brothers are those who are hearing the word of the Almighty One and doing it. Let us hold to this and know this. A great correction is coming, O Yasharal, regarding Edom that's wicked, and Edom that has been transformed by the renewing of their mind as a result of the drawing power of the Almighty Father and grafted into the body of Yasharal. My brothers and sisters, a set-apart nation will rise under one banner. I want to pause for a minute and say something that I should have said at the beginning that I think is important. Many of us look at Jacob stole Esau's birthright. And if you read throughout the scriptures, it speaks of true stories, wicked things that happen and true set-apart things that happen. By Jacob's mother having him do things to come across as Esau, that wasn't ordered by Yahuwah. Those actions were not ordered, but the scriptures is telling us what happened. You see, Yahuwah had already said that the older was going to serve the younger. Yahuwah had already said that Yaakov would be the leader, the anointed patriarch. But man tend to get in the way. And so Jacob's mother thought she had to get involved and intervene to make sure that Jacob becomes the one with the birthright. The birthright was going to happen because the Almighty Father had spoken. So he didn't order Yaakov to steal Esau's birthright. He didn't order Yaakov's mother to help him get the birthright. He had already said, it was already prophesied, it was already told to her that the older would do the younger. So make no mistake, we who are a part of the seed of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, we are heirs not because of a theft. We are heirs because Yahuwah ordered that first. The theft is just showing man trying to interfere. And if you look around to this day, man is trying to interfere with things that are ordered by Yahuwah. Man is trying to carve out the narrative. Even among Hebrews, we see people saying Yahuwah said this and Yah said this, trying to carve out a narrative. And they are sadly mistaken. And there are those who will echo narratives that are true and set apart. Hear these words, O Yasharal, for it is important. And as I stated, grave corrections are coming, and many will fight against this. Come with me and remember these words, O Yasharal. Matthew chapter 10, verse 34 through 42. Matthew chapter 10, verse 34 through 42. It reads, do not think that I've come to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to bring division, a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against a mother-in-law. And a man's enemy are those of his own household. And he who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he who does not take up his stake and follow after me is not worthy of me. He who has found his life shall lose it, and he that has lost his life for my sake shall find it. He who receives you receives me, and he who receives me receives him who sent me. He who receives a prophet in the name of a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward. And he who receives a righteous one in the name of a righteous one shall receive a righteous one's reward. And whoever gives one of these little ones a cup of cold water, only in the name of a taught one, truly I say to you, he shall by no means lose his reward. My brothers and sisters, there's so much to recognize when it comes to the spiritual set-apart family body of Yasharal, made alive by the power and might of the word of Yahuwah, which is known, who is known as Yahusha. Yahusha represents the embodiment of his word. I want to revisit and I want you to examine again Revelation 7, 4 and 9 through 14. For the sake of not reading it again, I want you to just revisit it and think about it. This passage talks about the 144,000 and a great multitude of which no man could number. And I want to tell you, O Yasharal, this great multitude will be proven to consist of Hebrews and Gentiles that are drawn by the Almighty Father, made one under the banner of Yasharal. It doesn't mean they transformed into a Hebrew. They transformed under the banner of Yasharal into the spiritual side, the spiritual nationality. So we must be able to understand when they say you're neither Jew nor Greek, what that means. In spirit, we are one, a set-apart nation. Corrections will be magnified, O Yasharal. Egos will be brought to naught. Obstacles will be removed. In the coming days ahead, we will know what is true, what is right, when it comes to Yaakov, whose name was changed to Yasharal, and Esau, whose name is Edom, we will understand the dynamics of people and spiritual set-apartness, and the spiritual set-apart ones that are of the nationality or the physiology of Gentiles. Clarity will come, O Yasharal. There will be guards. There will be leaders. There will be chosen ones that will make things clear as the Spirit of Yahuwah works in us, through us, one towards another. Again, my brothers and sisters, I want you to discern and know the life in these words. I cannot emphasize it enough. Galatians 3:24-29. Know the life in these words as it relates to Hebrews and Gentiles. Therefore the Torah became our train unto Messiah in order to be declared right by belief. And after belief has come, we no longer under the trainer. For you are all sons of the Almighty One through belief in Messiah Yahusha. For as many of you as were immersed into Messiah have put on Messiah. There is not Yehuda nor Greek. There is not slave nor free. There is not male and female. For you are all one in Messiah. He's speaking to those who have been drawn by the Almighty Father to Yahusha. Those who are of the set-apart body of Yasharal. And he goes on to say, if you were of Messiah, then you are seed of Abraham and heirs according to the promise. On that note, O Yasharal, there's much work to be done. There are many corrections over the horizon, some of which many will fight and kick against. But in order to bring unity for this final Exodus, in order to bring unity among set-apart ones, even those that will be martyred for Yahushua's name, we must understand the dynamics. When Yahuwah say he hates Esau or Edomites, he's talking about wickedness and the nations who follow wickedness. And there are some Hebrews who follow wickedness, following the ways of the heathen, following the ways of the Edomites. But there are also some Edomites by nationality that have been converted and grafted into the body of Yasharal and part of the diverse nations that are gathered in these final days. A great multitude, but when compared to the full population of the world, is a remnant. What say you, O Yasharal? Are you ready to witness the corrections, the many corrections that are coming in order to bring unity upon Yasharal? You see, my brothers and sisters, it is my belief that the extreme conditions that are coming within the tribulation are necessary to quiet the set-apart children that are kicking against corrections, to set straight, to bring about discipline, first to the children of Yahuwah, and then vengeance and wrath to those outside the court, those who are not a part of the set-apart family of Yasharal. It's almost like the extreme conditions are necessary to say, just shut up, be quiet. With the fear of Yahuwah in mind, to pause and listen to what is true and respond to what is true. Yield to correction. And those who know how to yield to correction and rise up, cleansed by the blood of the Lamb, washed by the word of Yahuwah, strengthened by his spirit that came to us in Yahushua's name, we will witness the power and might of being brothers and sisters of a set-apart nation. I ask you these questions as I come to a close. Yasharal, are you my brother? Are you my sister? Why don't we communicate? Why aren't we engaging one another in conversations? What are we doing to contribute towards the building up of a set-apart nation? Prepare to witness the answers by the Spirit of Abba Yahuwah. And when those answers come, they will come with expectations. And we will learn, O Yasharal, what is necessary to begin to fall in line in unity. We have less than 2 years, less than 18 months for some less than that. What are you contributing towards the building together of a set-apart nation? What are you contributing? What have you been blessed with? What have you found favor? What skill sets, what resources, what skills do you have? What resources do you have that are to be shared amongst the set-apart nation that is coming together? Have anyone presented to you how this is going to come to be? I have presented before you that I believe Yasharal in the Western Hemisphere will come to Virginia. There will be a gathering. There will be a loading of ships on the banks of Virginia. Yasharal, O Yasharal. And I don't choose who board those ships, but know this, that the power and might of the Almighty Father will anoint those who will be guards and leaders and shepherds, and will reject those who they are ordered to reject. But Yasharal, O Yasharal, help me, help to understand what must come to be to witness this phenomenal event. Help me understand and contribute to witness as those in other nations, geographic nations, move to the edge of those nations before being gathered back to the promised land. It's going to happen, my brothers and sisters. There are details and processes that will become clear. There are hurdles to overcome. There are pathways that we will venture as the Spirit of Yahuwah directs our path. On that note, I thank you for your patience, your tolerance, your pursuit of set-apartness, the zeal you have to worship and obey the Almighty Father. I pray that you be continually encouraged. And I say, O Yasharal, get involved. Identify the expectations that line up with what the scripture is telling us, that line up with what the leaders are presenting to us that have been given to them by the Almighty Father. So I come to you. My name is Simonai, and I come to you in the name of Yahushua. And I say to you, O Yasharal, O family of set-apart ones, much shalom to you, my brother, my sister, my family.